The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is brought to you by Hearthside Bank and by Madisonville Marine.
And you thought, okay, this is a guy that can start a few games and get you by, but now he's played his way into the discussion where he might be a first or second round draft pick next year if he keeps this up.
Not only did you have a change at the top, but then Petrino comes in and gets rid of the entire defensive staff.
Guy that when he came in didn't have the size really totally yet, obviously had the height and stuff, but he's put on good weight. He's gone out there and played really well, especially moving from that you thought you were right guard, now you're right tackle.
I think second down is way too predictable for him. It doesn't matter if you've gained 8, it doesn't matter if you've gained 3. They have a tendency to always run the ball on second down.
Let's talk about the Vol recruiting class. How is this one stacking up to previous high school classes?
I think overall it's got a chance to be the highest ranked class. We'll see how a lot of variables in this down the stretch. Rankings, updates will still dictate this.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. I'm John Pennington, joined by Ryan Callahan from GoVols247.com, joined by John Wilkerson from 99.1 The Sports Animal. You can hear him 6 to 9 every Monday through Friday on Sports Talk, and then myriad other shows at the Sports Animal. And right over there we have Bob Hodge, who you can find at the Sports Source and most everything we do. I usually try and drag you
No
into
myriad
it.
for me.
No myriad for well, myriad Sports Source stuff. So thanks for being here to all of you. This show brought to you by Hearthside Bank, folks. They bring you everything at the Sports Source Digital Network, which you can find on YouTube, and they certainly bring you this show, and they're a big part of our Sunday show. We thank them in terms of great banking. You can't beat it. In southeastern Kentucky and in eastern Tennessee, check out hearthsidebank.com. These are good people. I've had nothing but tremendous experiences with them. Hearthside Bank, always within reach. Okay, Tennessee hits the open date at 4-1. Overtime loss to Georgia, overtime win against Mississippi State. So this thing could have been great, could have been not so great. Kind of is where I thought it would be, personally. But I want to get your thoughts. This is kind of the range I expected at this point. Is this team better or worse than what your expectations were? Ryan Callahan.
Honestly, the overall product, like you, kind of about what I expected. I was probably a little more bullish on this team than some going into the season. I thought they had a chance to maybe be a college football playoff team if things fell the right way. I still feel that way, but some things need to go right down the stretch. The thing is, they look very different from what I thought they would be. They're much better offensively than I thought they would be, especially in the passing game. And they're worse defensively than I thought they would be. And obviously the Ricky Gibson injury in the secondary has changed things. Didn't know when Jermod McCoy would be back, but the defensive line has not been as effective overall as I thought they'd be. They're worse against the run. Safety play has been even shakier than I thought it would be. So it's just been a different overall look, but the end result's about the same.
Yeah, the result's kind of where you thought, but it's gotten there in a different spot.
Yeah.
Agreed. Gentlemen, is this team better than you expected, worse than you expected, about what you thought?
Record-wise, it's what I expected at this point in time. And, of course, you're just so close in so many instances to being a win ahead of that. With you had those opportunities to beat Georgia and didn't. But to follow on what Ryan was saying, also a little surprising that Tennessee has not been as sound in special teams as you're used to them. And granted, there was a change atop that unit because you had one that went to Oklahoma State. But at the same time, I just think that you've got room for improvement. But offensively, so much better, I think, than people expected. Defensively, you hope to get healthy, which helps at all levels. And then, hopefully, special teams takes care of itself.
Bob, your thoughts on this team?
To dust off an old phrase from a decade ago, 2 decades ago, dittos. That's exactly what it is the record what I thought it would be at this point. How you got there, though, never. I thought that you were going to have games that you were winning 21-17, that your offense was having to control the ball, that your running game would be everything, and your passing game might just be kind of average. So, yeah, to be here, the team, to me, has a feel of being better than I thought it was. Even though your defense hasn't played as well as I had figured preseason, your offense has played enough better. Your offensive line has played enough better, and your receivers. So to me, they are what I thought they would be, 4-1, but it's just got a better feel to it than I thought I would have at this point.
I thought going into the season, the over-under at 8.5 wins was about right. I went with 8 wins. I could see 9 makes sense, either one of those. Depending on how the next couple of weeks play out, okay, maybe I'm ready to bump that up. I do think the ceiling may be higher than I anticipated, but in terms of the record right now, 4-1, I guess I probably went into it thinking Syracuse would be a bigger challenge than Mississippi State simply because it was the first game. And this is the one thing that has been the biggest surprise for me. And we're going to cover this throughout the show. We're going to have a segment where we talk about who we've gotten more from, who we need more from. But the guy that has hit the ground running that I didn't anticipate is Joey Aguilar. Oh, I was very much, I believe it when I see it. Yeah. Because, you got a guy who's thrown 24 interceptions, and we sit there and go, oh, well, it was everybody around him. Okay. It can't just be everybody around him. Now you look at it, it's like, oh, it was everybody around him. Yeah. No, he has lifted the whole offense to a place I didn't see, and credit Chris Brazzell as well. Without Brazzell being Mr. Consistent this year, Aguilar isn't putting up the numbers. But he has been the biggest change on this team for me. That and the fact that your run defense has gone south. I would understand pass defense without Jermod McCoy, then Ricky Gibson. Okay, I get it. I didn't expect the run defense to go bye-bye like it has. And again, the numbers.
Your defensive line has played the way I thought your offensive line would play.
Yeah. It's the question marks have kind of moved a little bit, which is kind of what you got back to. Yeah. But to me, Aguilar may be the biggest surprise on this team in terms of things I didn't expect. But number 2 on that, we talked all off season. Okay, Heupel's his new offense. I remember doing a radio show with you, and I'm like, okay, I keep hearing this. What's he done? Throwing out the old offense? I want to know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of threw out the old offense. He's made mega changes to that offense, which I did not anticipate going in, and I will give him big credit for that. Yeah, this is a guy who looked at it and said, all right, everybody knows to play this same defense against me now. If you stop me with this, I got no counter punches. So now he's come up with an offense that has all kinds of counter punches.
Kirby Smart talked about this the week Georgia played Tennessee. He said the offenses kind of look different each year depending on what team he has. And I think that's a compliment to Josh Heupel. He's adjusted to his talent. Last year he had a team that needed to be built more around the defense. He adjusted the offense to kind of mesh with that. The offense this year, they saw that at the end of last year they needed to make some changes. They made some changes, and it's made this team better, and they're playing to their strengths. Last week, they came out throwing the ball more than they did running the ball. Yeah. Not what we usually see, and they just kind of said we're going to play to our strengths. Right now, that's throwing the ball. He's shown a willingness to adapt that I think is a strength of his as a head coach.
And with Aguilar being a strength, I thought before the season started, somebody would have said, give him exactly what you think without having seen him play, that his negatives would have been accentuated because now your competition has gone up.
Yes.
Your positives are going to be lessened because your competition has gone up. Now, we've seen some of his inaccuracies, saw some against Mississippi State, but I never thought that you would take a step up in competition, Georgia, Mississippi State improved, and be able to play the way he is to where you're on a list of Heisman potential.
John, very quickly, I'm going to leave this one with you. We're going to talk all about Arkansas next week, but we're heading into the Tennessee open date. Arkansas is on their open date. They made a coaching change. I don't think it was a surprise. We sat there on Sunday checking the watches, thinking it was going to come down. They waited 30 minutes till my show ended before announcing that Pittman was out, and Bobby Petrino is back in place as the interim for now. Good thing or bad thing if you're Josh Heupel?
Well, I still think it's a good thing because the personnel has not changed in terms of what Arkansas had to start the season. And granted, ultra competitive, lost by a score, fumbled late against Ole Miss, had the chance to win. Looks like you're going to against Memphis, fumbled going in. So it's not that they haven't been competitive, but not only did you have a change at the top, but then Petrino comes in and gets rid of the entire defensive staff. Yeah. So it's not as though, unless you have a bench full of buyout buddies that are just sitting at home watching the Flintstones, I don't think you can pull many analysts onto your staff moving forward. So I still think, all in all, Tennessee might have to adapt most to what they see from their offense, but I still think the challenge for Arkansas is going to be slowing down Tennessee's vastly improved offense.
John Wilkerson, glass half full. John Pennington, glass half empty. I look at it and think I would rather know what's coming at me. But that is from an offensive standpoint. That you're certainly right about the talent hasn't changed. You just wonder if, does this light a fire under them now? Do they come out and rally around old Bobby? Because he's such a likable guy. All right. When we come back, VFL Ollie Lane will join us, and we'll talk a little bit about the defensive side of the football. Who are the guys you've gotten more from? Who are the guys you need more from? That is next on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. John Pennington joined by Ryan Callahan, joined by Ollie Lane, VFL Ollie Lane over here. Welcome in. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, honored to be here.
Honored.
Yeah.
You didn't say you were honored.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm just happy to be here.
Happy to be here. I want to talk this segment, and we're going to do the same thing with the offense in the next segment when John Wilkerson's going to take my spot here. Got more, want more, need more. The gist is we'll look at the defense. What player have we gotten more from than we expected coming in? Who do we want more from? It's not a necessity. It would just be, it would help.
Be
want
nice.
more, need more is, boy, this guy, we got to have it. So that's where we're going. Let's just go around the table. I'll start with you. Got more from who than we expected?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that jumps off a lot of people's mind is Colton Hood. Yeah. Colton Hood's a guy, coming in as a transfer, unsure really what his capabilities are going to be, but he's highly talented. Guys come in and been a huge ball player for us, especially in this defense where you got injuries, especially in that secondary area. He's really been a bright spot for us. Super aggressive with his hands, and his ability to just get to where the ball is, break up passes, and be just a force of havoc for any wide receiver that's going against him. That's something that you need on this Tennessee defense, especially without having pieces like Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson back there, someone that's going to help you out in the long run. So
that's the thing. You went out and got this guy, and he might have been, if those two were healthy. Now, you knew that McCoy was hurt when you went and got Hood, but this is a guy who might have been third if those other two were healthy. I don't think there's much debate. Colton Hood is my runaway here. Did you have someone else you wanted to throw into that?
I think Caleb Herring is a guy that fits that description too, just because he's right there on Josh Joseph's tail, leading his team in sacks, and you're highly ranked in sacks nationally. So I mean, to have that kind of contribution from a guy that hadn't shown much in the past, I think he's in that discussion. But yeah, Hood's been tremendous. I mean, to your point, you thought he was going to be the number 3 corner, and you thought, okay, this is a guy that can start a few games and get you by. But now he's played his way into the discussion where he might be a first or second round draft pick next year if he keeps this up. I mean, he's at least going to have a tough decision to make after this year, and he might even be halfway out the door already.
In terms of want more, I'll take that one, and I'm going to go Jermon McCoy. And normally it's like, well, he's an All-American. He's coming back from injury. You need him. Because I don't know what he's going to give you when he comes back, I'm not going to put it as a need. I'm not expecting. I don't anticipate him being what he was last year. Yeah. So to me, whatever he brings you, when he comes back, if he comes back, you're debating. I'm sure there's an agent somewhere saying, why don't we just sit out? Yeah. But if you're coming back and you give them anything, I think that's a bonus. That's the kind of way I'm looking at the want more. So want more, just having him on the field. Jermon McCoy. Agree?
Yeah,
Disagree?
I'd agree with that because, I mean, look, you're already about a fourth way into the season without him. So you can see that you can get by without him. Yeah. But, I mean, man, it'd be nice to see what he adds to that defense because, I mean, we talked about it on the Final Word this week, Daniel Hood saying that this is an elite defense. I think if you get him back, it makes it an elite pass defense. But where they're at right now, I agree with you. It's someone that you want out there on the field. But to your point, I don't know what he's going to give you because, yes, they say your ACL is supposed to be better than it was before after you get it repaired. But I don't believe that till I see it.
Yeah, and it usually takes somebody a year before they get to that point. Yeah, because you're just not confident in it. But let's skip ahead then. Let's go to need more. And that'll be your – and this is the one that I think there's more debate. There's more discussion here. But who do you think in turn – they really need this guy. They need this guy to step up. Who you got? I'm
going to go Idris Farouk. Tennessee's safety play to me has not been good enough. We talked about that in pass defense. It's been good at corner. It's been good at the star position at times. I don't think it's been as good at safety. And part of the reason is they don't have a lot of depth at that position. Those guys are having to play too many snaps. But even when that's not an issue, I just don't know if Farouk has been consistently as good as you need. So Turrentine, he's been out. He's a third-year guy or been contributing for 3 years now. You kind of know what you have in him. Farouk is that young guy that I think Tennessee felt has some upside, but I don't know if we've seen enough flashes of it yet. It needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that's frustrating about it, too, from that aspect is it seems like their communication continues to break down in these bigger games. I mean, obviously, you're going to get burned a couple times here or there, but it's too many times where you're seeing two guys pulling off of a guy, not communicating when they need to switch or who's got the over coverage. And so it's just a young guy trying to learn, develop, get things right. You're going to need that because you're not going to get Ricky Gibson back this year probably. You don't know when McCoy's going to come back. And that defense needs to continue to step up. We're having too many opportunities for offenses to just throw bombs on us the whole time. And you can't get away doing that, especially when you go to Tuscaloosa, you go to Gainesville, you bring Oklahoma in. I mean, those are guys that are going to take advantage of that.
Maybe I'm alone here. I'm more concerned about the run defense than I am the pass defense. And the problem there is we're not able to say position. It's just lined up as a player. If it were position or an area, I would be saying setting the edge.
Yes.
But I can't just drop that on one guy.
Agreed.
But I think that's a bigger concern than your pass defense at this point, because if you're able to run on somebody, that makes the pass game easier. That means you demoralize the defense. You control the clock. It opens everything up.
Right.
But because we're going with just a player and not a group or an area of need, I'll agree with you.
I mean, to your point, though, I every week I look at the stat sheet and the run numbers aren't as bad as I think they are watching them. So
they're not horrible, but
so it could be better for sure. But I just look at what's going to cost them a game this year. I think it's more likely to be the secondary giving up too many passes. They've not been good enough back there in the very back end.
Well, and I see that. You look at the Georgia game, and what did the damage? I mean, they were completing a fourth down pass over Tyrett, beautiful throw. But they also had that one clock-eating drive where they drove it down your throat.
That's true.
Mississippi State was in that game because of their run game. In fact, I think it worked in your favor that they had to throw there in their last drive and they couldn't really run it. So
one other thought on the run defense, David Hobbs might fit in that need description. I think he's a guy not like Jermod McCoy. If he's back and really good for this defense, it makes them dramatically different. So you might need him to be really good.
Very good. All right. When we come back, we're going to do this same little exercise with the offensive side of the football, but it's going to be a much better segment. John Wilkerson will be hosting it. So come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.
Welcome back. It's the flip side of the coin, and that's got more, want more, need more on the offensive side of things. I'm John Wilkerson with Ball for Life Ollie Lane, as well as Ryan Callahan, Go Vols 24/7. So why don't we go ahead and start with got more, Ryan?
I got to start with probably the no-brainer for a lot of people, Chris Brazzell. I don't think anybody was expecting him to be this much better this year. I mean, we've gone from thinking he was almost an afterthought at wide receiver, where people were thinking Mike Matthews might give you a breakout season. Braylon Staley might be great, but no one thought Brazzell was going to be your best player on offense. And now he's in the first round discussion for a lot of analysts looking at next year's NFL draft. So he's on pace to maybe set Tennessee's single season record for receiving touchdowns. Just an amazing start to his season, and he's the go-to option passing game. So for me, it's Brazzell. You could go with Joey Aguilar here too, and it wouldn't be a wrong choice. I just think Brazzell's the one who's been so dramatically better than anyone expected.
Joey Aguilar is so well documented without question. Tennessee's not in the position that it is without him. Another name I would throw out there, and feel free to chime in on first Aguilar, but I think Jesse Perry might deserve to be in that 3 stars lineup.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Jesse Perry, a guy that when he came in didn't have the size really totally yet, obviously had the height and stuff, but he's put on good weight. He's gone out there and played really well, especially moving from that you thought you were right guard, now you're right tackle. He's played really, really well. And then one note I wanted to add on Brazzell, just the way this guy's playing. I don't know why his name's not mentioned in the Heisman race at this point. I think by now, if he continues what he's doing just on pace, he'll bring home a Biletnikoff for sure. Be the second Tennessee wide receiver to do so. But I think his name needs to start getting thrown in there because, the numbers he's putting up is just ridiculous. Leading the SEC, doing all this. You say the same for Joey. Joey's leading the SEC in passing yards as well. So it's good when you got both of those guys on your team. So
it does help, and it has been remarkable to see that chemistry just continue, that bond continue to grow, that chemistry get stronger. In terms of want more, we were waiting for a long time before we got to see it. I'll take this one and start with offensive lineman David Sanders Jr. Came in pretty high leverage situation. Fourth quarter, Mississippi State, Tennessee needs to score, and I think it was just it was a toe in the water. But now, without a doubt, you've got the lion's share of your schedule left, and so I think that would be great to see more of what you got a glimpse of at Mississippi State.
Yeah, no doubt. Me and you talked about him all the time throughout our spring show this year. This is a guy that not only are you paying him a lot of money, but he's also super, super talented. I mean, he came in and looked ready, looked the part. I mean, you're pulling him on the first play and he goes over there and smacks someone. And then watching him when they score that touchdown on the drive, he's in the back of the end zone finishing someone. And that's his first few snaps in a game, and he's already getting to that level against an SEC team. Yeah, I'm ready to see more of this guy. I'm ready to see him fully involved in this starting lineup and being a real true force for us. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that make an instant impact as a freshman and offensive lineman. The only one that I could think of to name is Trey Smith.
Yep.
And this guy's got an ability to be just like that and make an instant impact on this offense.
And if he can hold up well at right tackle, the biggest thing he might do is allow you to get your best combination of 5, because they felt really good about Jesse Perry at right guard. You get Wendell Moy back at left guard. That's a really strong 5 if those guys all play up to their potential. So I'm with you. I want to see more of what that looks like. That first taste of what we saw from him was pretty impressive, but still some work to do, obviously, but looked like a really talented guy as we thought he was.
And as we round third, we'll put it right in front of you, and that is, who does Tennessee on offense need more from?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at this offense, the one guy that I got to go to that you need more from is Staley. Staley's been, at this point, I feel like your most inconsistent wide receiver at the moment. And I think what took place is he muffed that punt against Mississippi State and just kind of just steamrolled an effect of just poor performance. But this is a guy, if he's going to be that third wide receiver in your rotation, that number 3, you need him to still be consistent, because eventually at some point what you're going to see is they're going to start doubling Brazzell, and they're going to say, all right, Matthews and Staley, step up. You got to go out there and make these tough catches for him. And I get it. It's really his first year getting to play in this offense, and a lot of guys that first year have a lot of issues, especially with drops and stuff like that. But he's a guy that you need to pick it up, because he can be an instant impact for you. But where he's at right now is just too inconsistent to say what he can and cannot do.
I was going to say, I think he's been really good at times, but it's been flashes. And then obviously he's coming off of probably his toughest game of the year. But even in that game, you saw the third down catch on the final drive where he made such a great play after the catch, kind of push through a defender, pick up the first down.
Yep.
I'm with you. If he can give you even more, it makes this passing game so much harder to defend, because then you've got 3. I think Mike Matthews starting to come into his own, so you got 3 really nice weapons there at wide receiver if Staley can live up to his potential.
Anybody that you would throw in to the mix in terms of need more on offense?
I'm tempted to say running back, so I would maybe lean toward Peyton Lewis. I think he's a guy that's not been quite as good as I thought he would be to this point. So if he can be that third guy and give you more of a 3-headed backfield, that's a better situation. As we saw, he didn't play a huge role at Mississippi State compared to Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop. So those two, I think, have been solid. If Peyton Lewis can be that third guy, you'd have a nice complement of skill sets at running back. I think without him, you're a little bit short there from what you ideally would have.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that for Peyton, too, is just you saw it highlighted on a big area because it gave up a sack in the Mississippi State game. Got to solidify that pass protection, because if you're going to be a back in this offense and roll a lot of snaps, you're going to have to get ready to do some pass protection. And I get it, he's young. That's something that you learn as you develop as a back, but that's an area that I'm sure they're probably seeing him like that's why he's not in there as much as you would want to see him.
I'm just a bit hesitant to include this one, but because I think he brings so many intangibles to the offense, but I am going to say Miles Kitselman. I think the potential is there to be such a strong contributor, big time, perhaps game changer at times, but right now it seems like, Ryan, he's still kind of feeling his way back.
Yeah, he's not been as big of a factor in the passing game. He had the 2 tough deflections, obviously, that led to interceptions, and that's, I think, not indicative of how good he is in the passing game. So, yeah, you need a little more from him, and to your point, he's been kind of knocking off the rust, getting back out there, coming off a pretty tough injury from the spring too. So I think as the season goes on, he'll probably get better. And if he can give you just a little more in the passing game, be that safety valve in the middle of the field, he could be a bigger factor in this offense than he has been so far.
Yeah, no doubt. So
that takes care of the offensive side of the conversation. When we return, the focus will be recruiting.
Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. John Pennington once again joined by Ryan Callahan of Go Vols 24/7. Of course, you cover recruiting for those guys. Now, I want to talk recruiting here in a segment brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Whether you're in Knoxville or Nashville, folks, they are the group to call. They can come give you a free inspection, whether it's a hole in your roof or a whole new roof. Trust VFL Daniel Hood and his team at Daniel Hood Roofing. Daniel was once recruited. Let's talk about recruits. All the VFLs on the show. Ollie Lane, who's been with us, was once recruited. let's talk about the Vol recruiting class. How is this one stacking up to previous Heupel classes?
I think overall it's got a chance to be the highest ranked class. We'll see how a lot of variables in this down the stretch. Rankings updates will still dictate this. Does Tennessee have any commitments who move up with good senior seasons? That seems to happen in 1 or 2 each year. It can come down to small things like that determine whether you're 9th, 10th, 11th. But Tennessee's got a chance to finish with the highest ranked class it's had under Josh Heupel. It also may depend on how many pieces they add down the stretch. Still in on some guys that could dictate where this class ends up. And of course, you got to hold on to guys. You got to make sure nothing crazy happens with the Faison Brandon or Tristan Keys. So you've got to get those guys to the finish line. But as long as that's the case, Tennessee's class, because of what they have at the top, has a chance to finish higher than it has under Heupel, and it's a top-heavier class than what we saw last year, which was a deeper class. Yeah. Really strong top 20 guys in last year's class. This year, that top 10 guys in the class is really what's going to carry Tennessee. But having a couple 5-stars in Brandon and Keys,
especially at quarterback,
that makes
those 5-star quarterbacks seem to make a big hit in the ratings.
Well, you got 2 top 5 players in the country right now, and that's a big deal. So obviously, haven't seen Tennessee do that in recent memory. You had Nico a couple years ago, but this is not
that worked out.
Yeah, but this one not quite the same. To have the number 1 receiver and number 1 quarterback in the class, a 5-star offensive tackle, and at least according to 24/7 Sports, and Gabriel Osenda. That's a nice trio headlining this class, and a few other guys who are ranked not far behind them.
What was Heupel's highest ranking? 5? Came in 5th one year?
No,
the highest? What was
10.
The highest?
No, they've not had
I thought he had a top 5 class.
They've not had a top 5 class since Butch Jones in 2014 or 15. I guess 15 would have been the last time they had a top 5 class. So it's been a while, and that would be in this era. That would be quite an accomplishment. Honestly, there's so much competition these days.
Currently ranked 8th, I believe, in 24/7's composite rankings, but 6th in the SEC. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before. It's great to be number 8 in the country, and there's only a little bit of difference between all those schools, you would think. But how do you get to Atlanta? How do you compete for SEC titles if you aren't competing for the SEC title in recruiting? And I get it. You could go do the transfer portal thing, but that's not really Heupel's MO. Mm-hmm. So are they gaining on those big fish that are slightly ahead of them? You're separating yourself from the back end of the league when you're top 10 every year. Mm-hmm. But you're still not. Are you catching the Georgias, the Alabamas, and the Texases if you're still 6th in the conference?
You're catching them. Here's the thing. There's so much variance in what actually happened. You said it yourself, Nico. Has Nico played like the number 2 player in his class? So you've got to evaluate well. No rankings are infallible. And the big thing is players get better from where they were in high school, and some players get worse or flatline. And so you've got to evaluate well and get the right types of personalities and people. And obviously Tennessee got to the college football playoff last year without having what I would say was a roster that looked like a college football playoff roster on paper. So they, finding guys that fit your system and things like that can offset things, not having as much raw talent on paper as another program. So yes, I think they are closing the gap, though, to answer your question. I think they're, the fact that you're getting some top line players like Faison Brandon, like Tristan Keys, like Gabriel Osenda, those look more like the players that Georgia and Alabama have been getting for years. And you're getting more of those guys at key positions on the defensive line. Cornerback, they've been going to the transfer portal, but you're getting guys like Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson, obviously, that have been, Colton Hood was a great pickup. So, and to your point, the transfer portal can help with that too. So,
but he usually cherry picks on the portal. Yeah. He's not doing the Lane Kiffin approach.
Right.
Where he buys for, half his team is transfer guys. That's not the way he goes about it. What I was getting at is, and look, I'm the one that said for years, I coined this years ago when I was doing a website, recruiting rankings are not a GPS.
Yeah.
They're a compass. Mm-hmm. And by that, you're catching up, and some of these guys won't work out for Georgia, and some of them will be better with you. But for the most part, if this guy gets 15 blue chips and you got 10 blue chips, he's got better odds of finding real players than you do, because he's got 15, you got 10. That's what I'm getting at with if you're still trailing those guys in the number of people they're bringing in. And again, this may be the year where you have a breakthrough with these 2 top 5 talents that are in there and another top 5-star player in 24/7's ranks with the offensive lineman. This may be the year that you break through there. But I just look at it, and it's like at some point, and I realize you're Tennessee, you don't have the best recruiting base in the world. You're having to go into other states and everything else. Mm. But we just haven't seen them, even with the NIL that they spend, we haven't seen them best Georgia and Alabama and Texas. And at some point, I think you're going to need to if you're going to want to compete for titles. Playoff, that's great. Indiana also made the playoff last year. So did SMU.
Yeah.
Being able to win a playoff, being able to go in there and win 4 games, that's a different beast. And I think we saw how that played out with Tennessee last year. I just think I'm more concerned about catching up the SEC guys than I am finishing 8th in the nation.
Yeah.
I'm more focused. Show me 3rd in the SEC.
No,
That's going to impress me more. I would be more impressed with 3rd in the SEC than I would 5th in the nation, because it's that SEC that you're competing with.
A few things on that, though. One, there's a few recent examples of teams. Michigan obviously won a national championship without having those types of recruiting classes. Clemson did about 10 years ago, different era, but they had Deshaun Watson and a bunch of classes that looked a lot like Tennessee's last 4 classes, honestly.
Different era, but
different
yes,
era.
with the portal and people leaving and depth and everything just changed, but still.
Right. Washington, with even lesser classes than Tennessee, made a national championship game. Didn't go through a 12-team playoff, though. And then, Tennessee, when they did have a top 5 class in 2015, that class ended up being the class that kind of was Butch Jones's downfall in the way that there were some guys in that class that ended up getting better after he left, but that was the class that needed to help him make that jump, and not enough guys did. You had Darrell Taylor and a couple other guys who hit later, but weren't really big-time players before he got fired. So you don't know, and it's all about what you get. Joey Aguilar wasn't a guy that would have meant a lot in the composite ratings or the transfer ratings for that matter. But he's ended up being a better player for Tennessee than Nico Iamaleava was. So that's just a good example. You just don't know what you're going to get, and you got to evaluate well and develop players.
I just get a feeling this is a college town.
Yeah.
And we're covering UT. Just if you're in Birmingham covering Alabama, or you're in Baton Rouge covering LSU, if the recruiting rankings are bad, well, the recruiting rankings don't matter that much. If you're number 1 in the nation, my God, look at the recruiting rankings. Well, I just think we do that because it's a college town. And to me, I still have questions about the SEC. But you've made your point. And you've proven me wrong. So let's go here. We got about a minute. We're way over already. Tell folks, in terms of getting to that highest class, well, right now they're already sitting on it. Mm-hmm. But what would it take to get? Could they ever get to number 5? What's the highest they could finish?
It would be hard to crack the top 5. So maybe 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who the top? Give me names real quick for folks to keep track of. There can't be that many guys who are undecided. So who are they? Who should fans be watching? Oh gosh, if we get this guy, we're gonna move.
Yeah, mostly flip targets at this point. And to your point, not a lot of highly ranked guys. But Dre Quinn is a former Clemson commitment, 4-star edge from the Atlanta area that Tennessee had on campus already. Trying to get him back for another game this season, maybe an official visit. Just still looking for a tight end. Just offered Parker Elmore, an Indiana commitment. That's not a highly ranked guy, but still a need to address. Still looking around at running back. We'll see what they can get there. And not done the offensive line or defensive line either. They offered an Oklahoma State commitment, Danny Beal, a 4-star out of Arkansas last week. So still some names like that I think will continue to surface over the next several weeks.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Ryan. And many thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. When we come back, what's more likely? College football playoff bid? SEC title game? 9 wins? 8 wins? We'll tell you what's more likely for Tennessee as the season rolls on. Come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment is brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Folks come from all over the South, really, to come to Madisonville, Highway 411 North, to get their boat. Why? Customer service, pricing, and the selection is unbeatable. Highway 411 North in Madisonville, Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat. Check out madmarine.com for the prices. You'll be blown away. All right. What I want to do with Ollie Lane, John Wilkerson, and Bob Hodge here is I want to discuss where this team is going from this point out. What's more likely? And we have to arrive at a consistent, we'll just leave consistent and move on. Answer, all right? SEC title game, playoff berth, 8 wins, 9 wins. So what is most likely for this Tennessee team? So we can start there. What do we think the most likely outcome is?
Well, I'll pitch 9 wins. Mm-hmm. I think 8 wins, definitely a possibility. It's still on the table. Obviously, playoff berth. Yeah. Definite possibility still on the table. But I just think Tennessee, until I see more consistency from their defense, until they can go out there and stop somebody from running the football on them, I think that's going to keep a lot of teams, as good as Tennessee's offense has been in a lot of games. And when you're in games like you were against Georgia, miss field goal. You miss a field goal against Mississippi State. So bad things happen. And so I'm going to go with 9 wins.
I'll back that up. I think 9 wins is probably your most likely option of those 4 at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'd 100% agree with you. That 9 wins seems like a good arc for them. And a lot of my questions still arise with the road team. Are we a good enough road team? You go to Mississippi State and you make every mistake possible to lose that football game. And I promise you, I know Starkville's loud. I know they got the cowbells, but Tuscaloosa is going to be harder. No matter what shape Florida in, Gainesville is going to be harder. You haven't won there since 2003. So, I mean, there's still some questions I have about our road team and how successful they'll be. And, I mean, you see Oklahoma's popping off the board this year. Vanderbilt's popping off the board this year. There's still some tough games down the stretch that they have not gotten to yet. So I agree with you. I think that 9 wins is probably your most likely outcome at this point.
Which means your answer is completely useless. I want to know your thought. Where are you going? What's most likely?
9 wins was actually what came right to the front and center for me when you were listing out the 4 choices, because I do think that you've got, as Bob mentioned, all of them are within reach, because this is a team that, if it doesn't perform well, can lose to just about anybody left on its schedule. But it also has the potential to beat every remaining team. But I think Ollie lays out the groundwork is you've got 2 key road tests, and then you've got Oklahoma at home, and those are going to be the make or break games. Tennessee can carve a path that takes them straight to the SEC title game or back to the college football playoff. But 9 wins, I think, would be the most, to me, certain of those 4.
I think the debate is going to be in the middle, so let's just go, what's the least likely of these?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think your least likely is the SEC title game. I think that's a hard game now to get into, especially since it's not broken up into divisions.
Yep.
Right.
So it's going to be more difficult. I mean, honestly, though, too, in the long run, do you really want to go to the title game if you got plans to make a big noise in the playoffs?
Ask Georgia.
Yeah.
Lost their quarterback last year.
Now, granted, you do get that bye week going into the playoffs because normally you'll get that first round bye. But at this point, I mean, I feel like it's better off to just play all the playoff games and you miss that conference game. To me, the conference game means a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather have a national championship than an SEC title.
I think the least likely is, I agree with him. I think it's people, I don't know if they understand yet that it used to be you had to be the best of 7 teams.
Yes.
Now you got to be the second best. You got to be 1 or 2 out of 16 teams. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the SEC title game is way out there to me.
You could even be 4 out of them. I think the current format has rendered the SEC title game, which I agree. I think that's the hardest one on that list to get to. But it's almost rendered it irrelevant. Mm-hmm. I mean, as much as you want your team to be the SEC champion, get that playoff berth, and everything is still in front of you from that point.
John, what's the least likely?
I would go with the SEC title game, simply for the fact that there is so little you control. You could have 2 or 3 teams that you have to finish in front of that you don't play. And if that's the case, then who knows exactly how it could break based on either the accomplishments of the teams they beat or the failure to accomplish anything from the teams that you've beat.
Okay, well, let's speed this whole thing up. We got 2 picked. Most likely is 9 wins. Least likely is the SEC title game, in our opinion. That means, what's more likely, playoff berth or 8 wins? Bouncing up or bouncing down? What's more likely?
You know, in my mind, I want to say I think the playoff berth is a little bit more likely. When you look on last year's team and this year's team on paper, this year's team's a lot better, and last year's team's made it to that playoff game. And granted, it was a struggle to get to that point. I think this team's got a better opportunity to not only make it to the playoffs, but also make some noise in the playoffs if they get to that point.
Before the season, I would have said 8 wins is more likely. Having seen this team, I'm now going to say that the playoff berth is more likely, ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly, I'm going to lean glass half full. So where are you going, playoff berth or 8 wins? What's more likely?
Playoff berth would be my number 2. Okay. And so it's interesting that all 4 spots have wound up being our consensus.
Yeah, we're all
consensus
is the word I was looking for earlier, by the way, and I kept saying consistent.
Let's lose consensus because I think 8 wins is more likely.
He's throwing the glass
But I think if you look at what they've got left and throw out New Mexico, throw out Kentucky, everybody else left has a chance, and not a bad chance. I mean, Vanderbilt looks better than I ever thought they would be. You've got to go to Florida, and it's been a house of horrors for you. You go to Alabama. Oklahoma looks like they could, if they've got everything healthy when they get here, could be the best team you play the rest of the way. And Arkansas, as we said earlier, changing coaches, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. So I'm going to lean into the other.
All right, so we ignore Bob. Now, it's close between these two for me. It's close. But first, we got most likely 9 wins. Next, playoff berth. Then 8 wins. Then SEC title game. And I could, if we talked for another hour, I could go back and forth on the 8 wins thing.
Yeah.
All right, very good. When we come back, if Josh Heupel were crazy enough to call us and say, hey, what do you think I ought to do moving forward? What would our advice be? Going down the stretch, what do we think Tennessee needs to do or change or make sure happens to reach a playoff berth if that's what we're going for? That's next on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.
I feel like a Heisman campaign for Brazzell should be started at some point.
For Brazzell, not for Aguilar. Okay.
I mean, I get it. The Heisman's become so much of a quarterback award and a fan favorite.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think when you look at this team, your MVP right now is Chris Brazzell.
All right.
Fishing for it.
I've seen Coach G at practice. I've seen him in scrimmages, like getting after it. I've seen him on the sideline getting after it. I can tell you right now, when they go watch tape of this Mississippi State game and they're running outside zone, and we can't stop it, Coach G ain't looking at the film and saying, you know what, but you got great penetration.
Of course it's not.
The hell with the 8 yards that he just got. you got everything they do from a defensive line standpoint. You know this. Every play is a plus or a minus. Did I do my job or did I not do my job? Did I miss assignment? Did I miss a tackle? Everything you do is graded as a defensive lineman. I'm sure it's the same for offensive lineman. And I'm telling you right now, Coach G is probably about to have a freaking heart attack over there watching
Every defensive line
because we have not stopped the outside zone all season long. We've been soft on the edges.
The worst move was the clock management at the end.
When I watched it, he was thinking, it seems to me, if I'm reading Josh Heupel's mind, I got to get a touchdown to win this game. I don't trust the field goal.
Welcome back into this final segment of the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. It's brought to you by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive. They do a tremendous job. I bought 5 vehicles in a row down there long before they were a sponsor of my show. As a matter of fact, that's how they became a sponsor of my show, because I gave them so much business. Rusty Wallace Kia, they will beat the price on any new Kia offered by anyone, anywhere. In other words, if somebody's made you a deal, they'll beat it, period. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive. All right. Let's say Josh Heupel has had a psychotic episode, or he's gone on a bender, and he's crazy enough to call us and say, hey, over these last 7 games, if we want to make the playoff, what do you think I need to do? So I'm going to ask each of you just very quickly, 20 seconds, 30 seconds or so. What would you give him as a bit of advice? What's your number one piece, Bob Hodge?
More creativity on second down. I think second down is way too predictable for him. It doesn't matter if you've gained 8. It doesn't matter if you've gained 3. They have a tendency to always run the ball on second down. And Ollie would know this better than me. Very similar runs from my point of view. More creativity on second down. Do something more with it.
John Wilkerson.
Make Boo Carter your punt returner and forget about it. Just give him the opportunity to get back there and make plays. Believe me, you're going to want more Boo Carter.
That's right.
So, I just think let him get out there, and I'd love to see him more on defense as well, but I just think more Boo, the better.
I'd like to see him touch the ball on offense on occasion as well, because I think he's the most explosive guy with the ball in his hands. I would say, and I love what he's done with his formations. He's mixed it completely up. It's no longer just the veer and shoot, everybody's out wide. At the same time, in doing that, he's hurt his run game a little bit because people aren't spread out as much.
Yeah.
So I would sprinkle in a little bit more of the old-fashioned stuff, the stuff he used to run, not constantly, not go back to what he used to do, but occasionally when the run game isn't pounding like you want it to, speed it up, spread them out, see if you can get it going that way a little bit, because when you spread them out, traditionally that has helped your run game. And this year it just hasn't been quite as consistent as it has been in the past. Ollie Lane, what advice would you give to your old coach? You're more likely to call Ollie that.
Well, I mean, we talk about it all the time. It feels like this season. If there was some metaphorical dial that you could turn for this tempo, I want you to turn all the way up and break it. Run tempo 110%. Go as fast as you possibly can, and don't look back. I think that's the way you score as many points possible, and that's where you put teams in a position where they have to press to make things happen to stay in the game with you.
I would have said that. I just don't think they're going to do it. No. I'm out. Yeah. I'm in on that's the way to score points. I'm just out on the discussion now because it's pretty clear after 2.5 years they're going to use it as a change of pace. Yeah. They're not going to go back to crazy stuff. But I think you're right. We all look at it and go, when they're in hyperspeed, man, it works. So, Ollie Lane, thank you. John Wilkerson, thank you. Bob Hodge, thank you. Thank you for watching. Hey, don't forget, we've got the Sports Source 90 minutes coming up tomorrow. That's 11 a.m. on WATE6 if you're watching right here. You can also catch it on the Sports Source Digital Network. Just search at Sports Source Digital Network on YouTube. It'll be up by 3 p.m. Central if you happen to be watching the show on CW Nashville today. You can catch it in both places. And, of course, watch for the Sports Source Digital Network all week. We've got content goes up Monday through Friday. And then the Saturday Kickoff next week. We'll get you ready for Tennessee, Arkansas with our pregame show. See you next week. Have a good one.